tough. But if Casimero can get it done, I'm picking Rigondeaux as well. But if he can get it done, I think he is a legit like that's going to be a big notch in his belt. And to see him, if the fights he can make with maybe an Inoue or a Donaire as well, that would be good for this division. But Rigondeaux is just a tough dude, man.
Speed round, is Casimero overrated?
A little bit.
I think so, but I think
I like him. I like him a lot. He's a slick fighter.
Yeah, me too. But you guys are smart. You guys are smart guys. Yeah. This guy's a touch overrated.
All right, we're all on the same page on that. How about that?
But if he can get this win, I think he might be where we might be wrong.
Are you picking him though? You're picking.
I'm not picking him, but there is a lot of potential if he can get a win here. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Throwing Jabs fans, you heard it. All three of us upset pick Rigondeaux. He's still at plus 170. Stay tuned.
Oh. All right. Well, let's get into the next fight. And Jared, your boy, Virgil Ortiz Jr. Let's break it down.
Ortiz Jr. faces his most significant test to date against Aegis Kavaliauskas this Saturday night live on DAZN. Let's break it down. Aegis Kavaliauskas is 33 years old. He's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach and a record of 22-1-1 with 18 knockouts. From Kaunas, Lithuania, Kavaliauskas began amateur boxing in 2007 at the age of 19 and represented his country at the 2008 and 2012 Olympics, as well as winning a bronze medal at the 2011 World Amateur Championships. After amassing a record of 49-18, he turned pro in March of 2013 with a unanimous decision, then won his next 16 with 14 knockouts before stopping Mahanri Montez in 7 rounds to win the vacant NABF welterweight title. 5 months later, he defended his belt against David Avazian, stunning his opponent in round 6 and beating him across the ring, prompting the referee to stop the fight. After scoring a unanimous decision over Juan Carlos Abreu, he demolished Argentina's Roberto Arrazia, catching him against the ropes and knocking him out with a brutal right cross in round 3. He took on Ray Robinson, barely retaining his belt with a hard-fought majority draw, and 9 months later, he challenged pound-for-pound King Terrence Crawford for Bud's WBO welterweight title. In a highly competitive back-and-forth fight, Crawford survived an early knockdown, which was erroneously ruled a slip to gradually wear down and stop Kavaliauskas, stunning him with a 3-punch combination before dropping him with an uppercut and a right hook. He bounced back 9 months later in impressive fashion, stunning Mikhail Zuski with a counter right uppercut, followed by a flurry of punches to end that fight. A hard-punching and highly aggressive pressure fighter, Kavaliauskas uses a solid jab and excellent head movement to set traps for his opponents. He also possesses tremendous power in his right hand, evidenced by his 82% knockout rate. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is 23 years old. He's 5'10" with his 72-inch reach and a record of 17-0 with 17 knockouts. From Grand Prairie, Texas, Ortiz trains out of the same gym where Errol Spence got his start under the tutelage of trainer Robert Garcia. A decorated amateur, Ortiz is a 7-time national champion and the winner of the 2013 Junior Olympics. After 160 amateur fights, he signed with Golden Boy Promotions and turned pro in 2016, rattling off 9 straight knockouts, including 6 in the first round, before making a huge step up in competition, taking on former WBA and IBF super featherweight champion Juan Carlos Salgado in just his 10th fight. He knocked out Salgado in the 3rd round with a liver shot, and after 2 more knockouts, stepped up again, knocking out former WBA junior welterweight champion Mauricio Herrera with a right cross in 3 rounds in 2019. He followed that with 3 straight knockouts, including knockouts of Antonio Orozco and Samuel Vargas. On March 20th, 2021, Ortiz had his toughest test to date, taking on the dangerous Maurice Hooker for the vacant WBO Intercontinental welterweight title, dominating his opponent from the start and dropping Hooker in the 6th and 7th round before the referee called a halt to the action. A dynamic power puncher with dynamite in both hands, especially his right cross, Ortiz has both the ability to put an opponent out with one shot as well as the footwork to set up his power shots. He's also very economical with his punches, preferring short, accurate bursts to wild combinations. In an exciting matchup of hard-hitting pressure fighters, will Kavaliauskas' experience in big fights prove the difference? Or will Ortiz be able to exploit the Mean Machine's stamina problems exposed by Robinson and Crawford? Tune in Saturday night, and let's find out.
All right, Jared, you got to talk about your boy Cyril Gane. Now talk about your boy Virgil Ortiz.
This is that guy, man. Years ago, I told you this was the guy to look out for. He's shown it to you since. If you didn't know him then, you definitely know him now. Mauricio Herrera had never been knocked out. Lost 8 fights, had never been knocked out. 24-8, Virgil Ortiz stops him. 3 rounds. 11 guys. Out of those 17 had never been knocked out before. 17-0 with 17 knockouts. 11 of them never been stopped before. Stopped Mo Hooker in 7 rounds. Stopped Sammy Vargas in 7 rounds. I don't think this is about Egidius being able to beat him. I don't think that's why we made this fight. I think he got knocked out by Terrence Crawford in 9. I think he had a bounce back fight against Zalewski. And now I think the idea is, can Virgil Ortiz Jr. finish him in under 9 rounds and set up a super fight with Crawford? The answer is yes. The over-under is 6.5. Take it. Virgil Ortiz Jr., this kid is a buzzsaw.
This will be the toughest match of his entire life. Kavaliauskas is an outstanding fighter and a guy who can really do a lot of damage. And so this is a great fight, and this is definitely a step up fight that could take him to the promised land here. And Jared, I mean, this kid's great. In putting their preview video together, it's not often that all I have to choose from in the highlight reels are knockouts. You don't see that every day. It made it really fast. So I think that Ortiz, this one, I don't know if the knockout streak continues here. Kavaliauskas can certainly take some punishment. I'm going to say he gets it, though, Jared. I say Ortiz stops him by round 8. It's over.
Mo Hooker, I hold in high regards, and I think that win was very, very big. Kavaliauskas may be the mean machine, but I just think Virgil Ortiz is just meaner, and he's going to get it done, I think, pretty handily. I'm going to go 3-4. I'm going to say 4, round 4. He gets it done. I mean, this dude's a beast. I'm excited to see him against Bud Crawford. If that's Jared, that's what you're saying is going to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. And Bud, I mean, that's a great fight. I'm not going to say Ortiz will walk through him. But Joe, you're giving this 8 rounds now. I want you to think about Bud Crawford against Egidius. Now, good fight, but Bud kind of played some back foot stuff, right? Yep. Let him come forward, let him walk into some stuff. Mo Hooker, right? Did a little jab in, little back and forth. Now, these guys got finished in the 9th and the 7th round, respectively. So the idea, the concept I'm coming with is that these guys are both moving forward fighters. And those knockouts took 7, 8, 9 rounds. Jace might be on the money with 4. Is a lot more because this guy's going to push. How does it go to decision? How does he push forward against Ortiz and Ortiz wins and it goes to decision? He's going to kill this dude.
Yeah.
It's great. I believe everything else you said, greatest fight to date, and it could go to decision. Both very tough guys, but Ortiz has walked through everybody. And the guys that come toward him are in trouble.
Well, look,
never seen him rocked.
This is a guy he won't walk through. And that's great for him. And so, again, for me, listen, if this goes 5, 6, 7, that's not the worst thing in the world. If Ortiz gets popped a few times, that wouldn't be too bad for him because I tell you what, when you fight Bud Crawford, you better be used to getting hit a little bit. And you better be used to having a harder time landing your punches. And so, again, to me, this is a great opportunity for Virgil Ortiz Jr. To not only like further cement how great he is. This is obviously the common opponent, right? This is one of those common opponents where if you can beat Kavaliauskas' brains in, boy, what's there to question about you being up next? What would be the question? So to me, again, a decisive butt whooping. Ortiz could drop him in the first round. That's great. The streak continues, but is Bud Crawford at home going, oh yeah, I want some of that?
Yes.
To me, I think if Kavaliauskas and Ortiz duke it out for a few rounds, you see a really good fight. You really get to see Ortiz do what he does. Again, it's going to be insane. With two pressure guys just butting heads, this shouldn't last that long.
And Ortiz gets hit. You will see them trade punches. This is a great fight. This is fight of the night all day.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited for this.
Heck yeah, so a little bit of rock'em sock'em robots. You know,
and I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does finish him around in round 4. That would be great. But again, I also like to watch boxing.
Well, that's the thing about Ortiz Jr. He's a great boxer, but he's a dog too. He gets in there, he gets hit a little bit, and he walks through stuff. I've never seen him rocked or not wear a punch exactly how you want to see your puncher wear it. Your fighter wear a punch. These guys that he fought, Hooker hit him a bunch of times. Hooker could punch. And nothing. He just walks through him. And I mean, you're a pressure volume fighter. You're in trouble with this guy. It's going to take a boxer. It's going to take a Bud Crawford and Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao to beat this guy. Land those punches, stay away from him, beat him by decision. Because until I see him get stung and hurt, like Gagey, until you really see him rocked, I'm just going to assume he'll keep walking through people.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a brawl. It's going to be a show. So you guys want to check this out on DAZN tonight. Before we get into a little bit of current events, Jared, give us your puncher's chance here.
Puncher's chance, McKinnison over 8.5. This is all day. The guy's 20-0. He's favored 12-1 favorite. 20-0 with 2 knockouts in the toughest match of his career against a guy that's never been stopped. This over an 8.5, barring somebody with a blown out knee and their foot stepped on. Olin Norris is the only guy who could stop this from going over 8.5. Rigondeaux we just covered, still at plus 170. Both of my co-hosts picked this guy to win as well. All 3 of us on the same guy, and he's an underdog. Good money. Virgil Ortiz, be careful with this one. It is his toughest test to date, but I think that number is actually up to 8.5. So under 8.5 actually fits Joe's 8 and Jace's 4. And we all agree on Virgil Ortiz under. This Roger Gutierrez fight, these guys fought once already. Gutierrez beat him, knocked him down 3 times, and just barely beat him on points. It was a Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder-esque fight, but at that weight, if only one guy has the potential to hurt the other guy, then take the guy with the puncher's chance. Roger Gutierrez. I parlayed these 6 away from Sundays. I'm not going to tell you how to do it because everybody's doing their own research nowadays anyways.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's great. And we were just talking about welterweights, Virgil Ortiz. We talked about Crawford. But on the other side, on the Showtime, on the PBC side, Errol Spence Jr. withdraws from his fight with Manny Pacquiao that was supposed to be for next week due to a partial retinal tear in his left eye. So now we have Manny Pacquiao taking on the man that somehow got his belt without fighting him in Ugas. Joe, what do you think of this situation?
Well, I knew Errol Spence Jr. would figure out a way to worm out of this fight. And so whether the injuries 100% real or not, yeah, I felt like from the get-go this was never going to happen. Ugas, you know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. This is not. I think if you told Manny Pacquiao he was coming out of retirement again, taking some time off from his job, running the Philippines, that he'd be fighting Ugas, I don't think he'd have gotten out of bed. I don't think he would have even started camp.
No.
But this is obviously some bad news. He should have been fighting Bud Crawford in the first place. So you get what you get. So
how many rounds will it take Pac to finish this fight? Ugas is as good as mine. I'm really just tired of the suspense. That was a doubleheader. I would like to see this fight, but it seems like Spence is one of these habitually shooting himself in the foot guys. Sucks that he's a professional boxer because he'd be a perfect candidate for scrubs.
Oh gosh. Oh, Raylan.
There's more bad news. Ray Leonard's the only fighter I'm aware of who came back from a retinal detachment and had vision problems the rest of his career as a result of it. Yeah, when you can't see what's coming, that's a real problem in this sport.
That's why I wear camouflage condoms.
But I mean,
so they can't see it. The Errol Spence Jr. is this guy, like I said, after the car crash, the arrests, the BS, it's like, do we want to see this fight? Do we even put him on that? Years ago, when we started this show, he was on pound for pound list.
No.
Now the arrow points straight down for this guy.
Oh, but I mean, hey, if everyone will watch John Jones fight, so we'll all watch Errol Spence fight when he.
I don't even remember that.
I know.
Yeah.
When is, regardless, it will eventually maybe happen down the road, but it would really suck if this is a lingering injury. And because that top of that division is so fun, especially if they can somehow make that Crawford fight happen. So if that messes up his whole
this is perfect for Spence too, because this will be an excuse going forward. Assuming he recovers from it, he can always complain that he would have beat Bud in their future super fight if he could see better. So built-in excuse right off the jump.
Hey, if that super fight even does happen, which is
we'll keep our eye on him.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's end the show and Jared, hit us with that flurry.
The fish tank. So a lot of times when I describe scraps to people, one of the questions I get is about kids. And I say scraps is intended for over 18, the program itself. And I get a lot of questions about that. Why wouldn't it be for kids, especially applying to become a charity? Don't you think you'd be more likely to generate donations and participants if you included children? And the answer to that is yes on both counts. And the metaphor I use to try to explain to them why I won't do it is that of a fish tank. Eventually, I'd like to have a Scraps Juniors program when it takes off and is successful. But as for the beginning, the program itself is designed to give people tools to build a life that doesn't involve hardship and trauma. And while children also experience hardship and trauma in some of the worst ways, they don't really have the ability to adjust their environment. So the metaphor of the fish tank is that of a sick fish. That is, I can take that sick fish out of its environment, out of the fish tank that caused it to be sick somehow being in there. I don't know if it's the tank, the water, the other fish. Something made that fish unhealthy. And if I remove it from that environment for a couple hours and do some pad work with the fish, clean it up, rinse it off, and then throw it back into that same tank, the environment will have the same effect it had before, and actually making that change is near impossible with the other fish in the tank and with the surrounding environments. A lot of the times, the most unfortunate part of some of the work I've done is a lot of times the changes necessary for the child aren't within their capability due to the environment that they have to be in. You know, you can't just uproot hundreds and thousands of children and put them somewhere else, as much as some of us would like to. So I don't want to deal with that. I can't deal with the fish tank directly. I don't like the effect of the children not being able to make the wholesale changes that they need to make it better. And it frustrates the children, the parents, and me. So the program I have, for the most part, there's no permission slips or anything, and we keep it over 18. And that way, when we take the fish out of its environment and rinse it off and make the fish healthy and give it the tools to build a different environment, it's up to the fish now if that's the fish tank that they want to jump back into or not, and not one that I'm just dropping them off to at the end of the day.
The Cross'em Wrestling Entertainment Podcast, presented by Clovercrest Media, is what you AEW fans have been looking for. Noah Cross and Tyler Bard give their take on every week's episode of Dynamite. If you are a massive AEW fan, then it is time to join us every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Stay Cross'em.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Throwing Jabs. Thank you for that flurry, Jared. For myself, Big Jace, Joe Aguirre, and Jared Jones. Make sure you check out tonight's fights. Should be fun, especially Virgil Ortiz versus the Meme Machine. That's going to be a brawl, so make sure you check it out. And tune in next week where we'll recap them, talk about more fights to come, Ugas and Pacquiao like we talked about. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and check out clovercrestmedia.com. We'll see you next week for more Throwing Jabs.
Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top three corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, locked it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint. From a feint, take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing. Counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is Throwing Jabs.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meek, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Burn, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.